Good morning. Welcome to your demo on potato hash and fried eggs. I'm going to show you your recipe that we have today. So you want to make sure you have your recipe handy. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lay everything out. Have everything ready to go. That means mise en place. So if you're looking at your recipe, we're going to run through the ingredients, talk about each ingredient, and so that you will be able to identify them when you receive your cooking box. So remember, you've already completed your knife cuts, so you're using your onion and your bell pepper from your knife cuts, as well as you're going to be using, remember, your diced potato, the whole potato. I have put it in a bowl with water to avoid it turning brown, and I will show you how we're going to fix that in a second. You're also going to need 2 cups of water. Make sure you're using your liquid measuring cup. 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So I just keep my vegetable oil in a squirt bottle with my measuring teaspoon handy. Your half a cup of diced onion and your 1 green bell pepper, that's in here. Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. So I keep my salt available and I have my spoon ready. Now we do use, all my recipes are with kosher salt. So we will have a discussion if you don't keep kosher salt in the house, but you use either sea salt or table salt. The amounts will change, so remember that. 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. 1 teaspoon of minced fresh thyme. So you guys are gonna be having some fresh herb identification. This is thyme. I will show you how to use that. And then 1 tablespoon of what we call Italian flat leaf parsley. You will have these in your bag as well. Please make sure to wash, again, all your vegetables as well as your herbs and dry them with paper towels. All right. The other thing we're going to be doing, and it was from the video from the other day, was to do fried eggs on top. So I'm going to show you, I have my 2 eggs ready. I'm just going to do 1 serving today. And of course my salt, pepper, and some butter to fry those eggs in. All right, so the first step is using a large nonstick fry pan. Cook the diced potatoes in 2 cups of water, covered until just tender, about 3 minutes. So let me get over to the stove and we'll get moving. Okay, so we are going to be using a large Teflon fry pan. Teflon, meaning it's non-stick. If you don't have one of these at home, use something similar. Just know if it's going to be some sort of stainless steel, you might need to add a little bit of extra oil in the process. So the first thing we want to do is in that pan, we're going to drain our potatoes. So I'm going to take my potatoes that were in the other water, drain them, and I'm going to go ahead and just add those to the pan. Spread them out. And then you're going to add 2 cups of fresh tap water. So that should give you a nice little layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn these on to about a medium-high heat. And what we're going to start to do is we're actually going to par cook these. We're going to cook them just a little bit so that we make sure they're nice and tender on the outside. So we're going to wait until these come up to a little bit of a boil. You start seeing bubbles breaking the surface. And then we're going to go ahead and cover the pan for 3 minutes. All right, let's wait for it to come to a boil. Okay, so you can see the potatoes now are starting to come to a little bit of a boil. Got some steam coming off the pan. So we're going to cover, and you're going to set a timer for 3 minutes. Okay, so it's been 3 minutes. Remember, when you open up the pan, tip it away from you. Camera's getting a little steamy there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drain these. I'm going to use a colander in my sink. Take my potatoes. Drain them into the colander, and I'm going to go ahead and dry my pan out really quick. And then I'm going to take my potatoes and I'm going to drain them. And then I'm going to place them on a plate with a paper towel to let the excess water drain. So put these off to the side. Sorry if the camera got a little steamed up there. Okay, so then the next step is we're going to heat the oil in the large skillet. Make sure, again, you've dried it out. I still have it on. And then we're going to go ahead and saute our onions and bell pepper for about 5 minutes. So I have my tablespoon. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of the vegetable oil. And what you'll see is that pan is already hot and the oil starts to move very quickly around the pan like water. That's how you know it's hot, okay? Turn down your heat, maybe to about a medium low. Now, because I'm using Teflon, you need to make sure you're using either a plastic or a wooden utensil. I'm going to use a wooden spoon. If we use metal, we're going to scratch the Teflon and we're going to get little bits of it and we're going to ruin the pan and we're going to have a chemical contamination. Okay, this is going to be nice and hot. Okay, so go in, kind of move them around a little bit. It's going to take about 5 to 7 minutes, or what you're looking for, again, everybody's stove is a little bit different, is when we look at an onion and tell that it's starting to cook is the word translucent. So they're going to start to become a little clear. The bell peppers should start to have a little bit of color on them. Now we're not seasoning yet, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my potatoes are ready to go. Let those go a little longer. Okay, I'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so you can see we start to have some color on our onions and our bell pepper. We don't want to cook them all the way because they're going to continue to cook as we add other vegetables to it. So the next thing you want to do is go ahead and take your potatoes that are nicely drained, because the reason we drain them is because that water and the oil don't mix very well. So add that potato, start stirring those in. And again, we still have not seasoned. We're looking just to get some nice color on our potatoes now. So we're going to cook this for about another 5 minutes, and then we'll move on. We're going to be able to need to identify different types of herbs and spices when you're cooking, because when it comes to the quizzes, you'll have them in front of you. So thyme is a very, has like a stalky kind of a little stem on it, and then it has these little tiny leaves on it. And what you want to do is go in and you want to pull just the leafy parts off. You don't want any of the stems. This one happens to have some very soft stems, so it's not going to be too bad, but they do give an off-putting flavor when it comes to cooking. So you're going to need 1 teaspoon of minced thyme. So what I want you to do is use everything I gave you. You should be very close to it. We don't want to waste any of it. So just pull off those little leaves, okay? And then when it comes time to mincing, let me give my potatoes a quick turn. Don't want anything to burn. Okay, so when you're chopping up your herbs, you want to make them into a nice little pile. And then if you can, kind of scrunch them together with your fingers, so you're pinching them. And then you're going to use your knife, okay? And you're going to be cutting back here on this part. And you're just going to make little tiny cuts, rolling your fingers back, and then chopping. Now, to mince, when you're using your knife, right, keep it in a little pile. Keep this hand on the tip flat, okay? Don't ever do it too much. You know, watch your fingers so they're out of the way. And I go one direction, the other. Pull it back together. I'll do it this way so you guys can see. It's kind of that rocking motion. Okay, pull it all together and chop it. And you want to go really nice and fine. Now you don't want to make a paste out of it, but you want to chop them really nice and fine so that they end up in your potatoes. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back to our potatoes. You can start to see they have some nice color. If you feel like you're not getting any color or if they're sticking, what you could do is make a little hole in the middle and just add a little bit more of your oil, maybe another teaspoon. Not a lot. We really don't want an oily dish, but we want something that's going to be nice and crispy and brown. Okay, so you can see the colors on those. At this point, we're going to go ahead and move up to the next step, which is we're going to go ahead and season. So we're going to add a ½ teaspoon of our salt. Now when you measure dry ingredients, you want to level them off, okay? So we're going to start with that ½ teaspoon of salt, and we're going to do the ¼ teaspoon of black ground pepper. And we might need to add more. Potatoes come in different sizes. Okay, stir that in. And then let's add our fresh thyme. Get that mixed in really good. I'm going to turn down my heat just a little bit. I don't want to burn, like I said, but I want to make sure everything's got some good color. So we want to taste our seasoning, okay? We want to taste our food. So you should have either a home, you know, an eating spoon or a fork. Let me see what I have. So I have a spoon. What I want to taste is the potatoes in particular. I want to make sure they're done. So I'm going to go in for a piece that's a little bit bigger. It's going to be hot. Be careful. We're going to adjust the seasoning if needed. Okay, so tasted it, adjusted my seasoning. It really didn't need any adjustment to it. I maybe wanted to add a little bit more time, but potatoes were still just a little crispy in the middle, so I'm going to go ahead and let those continue to cook, and let's get our garnish ready. So what we're going to be using today for garnish is some fresh Italian flat leaf parsley. Really take a look and understand your herbs. Again, I've washed them. I've also dried them just through a paper towel. And with the same thing as we did with the thyme, we just want to be using the tops or the leafy part of our Italian flat leaf parsley. So this garnish we're going to be using is just enough to sprinkle it over the tops of 2 of them. So I'm going to just do a little bit. I'm going to take all those leaves, just like as I showed you before, and kind of roll them up, get my hands out of the way. And as I'm cutting, I'm making little tiny cuts, very close to my fingers, very close to the last cut. I'm pushing the herbs forward and rolling my fingers back. Okay, as it starts to get to the end, just move my fingers. I'm gonna cut it the other direction 1 time. Okay, and 1 time through. And we're actually gonna just sprinkle this right over the top of our dish. All right, so let's go ahead, get ready for plating. Okay, let's get ready. You guys always wanna present your dishes as if we're, presenting them to a restaurant or at a restaurant for somebody to eat. So I'm actually gonna have my breakfast. I'm gonna serve it in a very shallow bowl. So you can use a plate or a dinner plate, whatever you have. I'm gonna use this because it's gonna help hold the potatoes in a little bit. Now here's our potatoes finished, really nice golden brown. I'm gonna tell you this is probably enough for 2 people. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna scoop half of my mixture into my plate, and I'm gonna keep it mounded right in the middle of my bowl. Spread it around maybe just a little bit more. I say that's about a serving, okay? So even if you're doing this on a dinner plate, right, we don't want to have a plate on the edges. You want to keep everything really nice. Now, in our last video, you guys learned to do the fried eggs. I like my eggs basted, I said. So I have 2 basted eggs here that I've cooked. And what I'm going to do is just lay these right over the top of the hash browns. So you really don't even see them. And then you're going to take your parsley, right? Not too close, a little far away. I'm going to sprinkle the tops with some of that parsley to garnish. If it gets up here, wipe your edges. Any oil that drips, we always want it to look clean. Make sure you're wiping it with a clean towel. And there you go. That's your potato hash with fried eggs. Enjoy, you guys.